All right, here we are. We are back and we're going to do a basic scene just using most of the referencing techniques and the scaling techniques we just kind of got through with, most of them, and try to use them in different combinations just to kind of get a feel for you what to use when and how many ways you can combine these things. It's basically what solves the problem best from the best knowledge you have of these techniques. So we're really not measuring again, we're just using mostly just vanishing points, the logic of the eye level, and good referencing and scaling techniques. That's all. Okay, so I'm going to start out with a kind of move faster here, a house. So I'm just trying not to make it too huge. So there we go. I'll say the base is here. I'm not going to use my T-square much. I'm going to try not to put my head in the picture too much here. I've changed angle so it'll be a little more square for you, but also I have to make sure I keep my noggin out of the way. So we're going to say we have a 4-foot eye level. So here's the eye level. We have 2 vanishing points. We're going to create a 1-point vanishing point as well. But right now, you know, somewhere near the middle. Not quite. So I'm counting 4 foot down. So we have a 4-foot eye level. Horizon line's at 4 feet. So we're going to count down to here. So now we know that at that point, that's 4 foot down. I'll go ahead and use my red pencil just to make it clear. That's 4 feet. Okay. And then let's cut in half like we've done before. So those are basic 1-foot marks, right? I'll try to just add them on. So that's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I'm going to keep going up. I don't really care if the roof goes out of the frame. That's not, you know, we're cropping in. It's no big deal. It's mostly about referencing, so all right. Okay, so we got 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Let's keep going up. 13, as long as we need it. Okay, so I'll go ahead and get my bigger triangle. So I just counted down from the eye level and took that increment size that I got by dividing by 2 right here. Total of 4, cut it in half, remember? Then divided those in half again to, you know, get these basic increments. You get the feeling of them and you just continue in them basically. This again, a very hand-drawn way, but it's a, you know, it's a way to draw the vanishing points with a straight edge, but at the same time do some hand drawing too. So, but it's, you know, for instruction purposes, it is easier with to be more exact. So here's the base of the house, touching the ground. Okay. All right. And again, that won't go nearly that far, actually. But it's always good to draw farther than you need because you get the planes that might help you reference later. So I got to get in the habit again of doing that too. So 1-foot foundation, so the water doesn't all come in running on your floor of the old farmhouse. So now we've got 1 foot of foundation. So now from the foundation, kind of the floor height, it's 1, 2, 3, and then we know a door is about 6'8". So 1, 2, 3, 6'8". So about here, I'm going to make a little mark with my red pencil, just to remind myself. And again, these aren't exact techniques. I wouldn't use color. I would just draw very lightly with a much lighter pencil than HB. But to show on film and be very clear as an instructor, it's, you know, we make these things more obvious. So be, you know, just be aware of this is instructive. This is not how you draw. You wouldn't go to the pains of labeling everything perfectly after you're through the instructive stage with yourself or your own notebook. The notebook and sketchbook should be very instructive. But after that, when you draw for yourself, you need just as many markations as necessary for you to get it and for this stuff to be helpful. Okay, so there's a basic line for the top of the door. So now I've got the corner of a house. I'll create a little door. Say I think it needs to be about that wide. Okay, we're just going to do the very, very ghost basics. Just barely, might include a little bit of thickness there. Say, okay, the front door has a little bit of thickness. Just the bare bones, an open door. Let's say goes to a shallower vanishing point somewhere here. Just for the heck of it, it goes to that mark. So I take that same back. Let's make a mark there. Use that same vanishing point for the other plane of the door at the bottom. foreshorten it. There's a little open door, the knob. It's fine. Okay. There's the base of the door, a little bit of wood at the bottom, that kind of thing, no big deal. Okay. Then we're going to put a little stairway, a little stoop, I should say. Another one's kind of buried in the ground, but we'll go ahead and put that in. It's the idea of a stoop. Figure out where the corners are basically. Draw back to the ground from here. I'm making just a little reference point, trying to draw down to the base of the house, and then we'll add a little stair like that. Don't want to go a whole foot down, so we'll go shallow step, because some of it's kind of buried in the mud after the years probably. Old back door of a farmhouse, come forward from that a little. Get my head out of the way. Okay. All right. All right, there's some ground there. Anyway, there we have that. And again, I'm just going to add some real fast windows, which would probably be up at around that mark. So I'm going to make a little lower line for the windows. And just real carefully, or not so carefully, put them in, foreshortening some space. Just a feeling sketch, a drawing. Okay. All right. A little more foreshortening on that one. Real simple thicknesses, just to get the feeling here, so we can move on to many little things without taking a lot of time, because you would be doing a more careful version of this if you were setting up a canvas. But the whole point is this could be a canvas, and you could be doing a lot of this with brush painting on top of wet paint if you wanted to cut back in shapes. Or on your actual canvas, you could put a tape line on your wall, or imagine where the horizon line is. Use a long kind of piece of trim that's very straight, a piece of light wood, and you could be drawing a lot of this stuff in right on your canvas, just working out this basic stuff. Imagining where the vanishing points are, way over by, oh, my front door hinge. That's way over by that window, you know, curtain thing. Doesn't matter. You can do all of it. Okay, so those are the windows for now. Leave them kind of blank. And then maybe the house ends about here, like that. Just real basic shape. Cast back this window and door line here. Same here. Real basic. Have a couple windows come. This is more foreshortened, so it's even real basic. Okay. Try to stay out of your way here. Okay. And we got 6 foot 8, 7 foot, 8 foot. So that's where the second story starts. 1, 2, 3. So a little under there is the second height of windows. And how much should we count up on that? Was that side? We did 1, 2, 3, a little under 4. 1, 2. Okay. Yep. All right. All right. Put them on top a little bit. All right. Real simple. Oops. All right. Another one about there. Like that. All right. So, real simple windows. Have that go back down the other side. again, just follow the same ones up here. And there'd be more windowsills and stuff like that. I'm just trying to get in the basics so we can figure some other stuff out. Okay. And you figure a little bit the roof line might be there. So we'll just draw that. The roof will only come in a little bit, but we still got to kind of draw to it. Figure out how, even though it's going to be distorted, that's okay. Because that's coming out of our frame. I'm going to make the X there. Go ahead and take our halfway up. Say okay. There's their middle. Come down to our corner. That will start distorting, but that's okay. What we're doing is we're drawing it back. We're just taking it back. Imagining that's the base. Then we'll come that farther out from our vanishing point, basically. Enough to get the thickness of the roof coming down like that. Going back. Okay. Top of the roof comes here, and then again, this is distorted because it's getting out of the cone and stuff, but the frame will save us from that and get just tipping out of it, and that's fine. It's good to do demos right out of the cone. In fact, we'll keep drawing anything we draw in here out of, you know, the basic cone in the frame just to show how it distorts. That's a compositional tool. So obviously some wide angle lenses show distortion at the ends here, not so much on these two ends, but the bigger lesson, of course, is if you draw out of the cone some, you learn very quickly what distortion does, how it works, and if you like it a little bit. So the idea is we just kept drawing even though we'll start pulling. Anyway, got a basic farmhouse. We could keep going on it. The idea is we're just trying to get a basic idea. What's going on here? Okay. All right. So now we're going to put a person outside. So we're going to reference from the house, but that person would be on the ground. So let's say they're standing here, I don't know, just trying not to, as far forward. Now, we know that's still going to be 4 feet because we did that count before. Right? We've counted all the ideas back. We made the house visually about as wide as we wanted to. Not a big, very simple little house. So now if we know that's 4 foot, and again, we know that's 2 foot, 1 foot, 1 foot, then we can take those increments and make about a 6-foot person. So a 6-foot person standing there would be about that, and I'll make a 6-foot person. So that works, all right. We could also reference that person's height from the side of the house if we wanted to in blue. So we'll showcase that. That would be another choice. So the first way was to count down 4 if that person's standing on flat ground. Then we're going to talk about a couple people not standing on flat ground in a few minutes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But we could also reference 6 foot from here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that would be there from there. And make a reference point. So that goes to about there. So that's 2 ways. We don't have to do both, so make note of that. Let's see if it shoots back pretty close to where, yep, right on the money, see? Comes right over, crosses exactly where our other count was, so we were pretty accurate. So again, that's 2 ways, so make notes to yourself now, okay? The reference point's one method. The other one is to count increments down to the ground, divide, and then add the increments up to get your figure. Let's draw that figure in. It's going to be a simple person. They're facing away from us, let's say. So get the little jawline there in the neck. Okay. So, not thrilled about the tangent there. I might take that one farther back. See if I can do that. Who knows? Take the other one back. Okay. So that person draws attention to us because they're standing right near the corner looking out. Okay, so, all right, I want another person, let's say, and we know the house is this tall too, so I want to make the house's side also apparent because we can measure that because we know the house is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 16. So basically, let's count down again. We know it's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 17, about 18 up. So let's say 18. Okay. All right, so we've got a little person standing there wondering, why am I sitting here doing nothing? We'll put another person, oh my God, it's one of those hill things again, so I'm going to say there's some crazy steep embankment right after this. Maybe the embankment comes forward like this. So they live on the tundra. There's the horizon line. Okay. Now there'll be another person standing here. All right. So we'll put in the vertical for that person. Again, pretty easy. We'll just make a reference point again. Real fast this time. You could also reference the size from the house, but what's the point here? This is the cutoff. All right. Now, do we want that person larger? That's about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We said that's a pretty tall person, so we're going to make this person shorter, about 5.5 feet. All right. Okay, that person's a good distance away. But still, if we take that person's picture plane straight across, we can tell that they're standing, touching the house at about here if we take them straight across the picture plane. So they're still standing within the plane of the house. They're not behind the house. That's very helpful too. We can take this straight too and figure out where that person is. But like before, we're going to say, all right, someone's standing up here. All right. And we have to figure out, well, then how do we decide where that is, for one thing? Well, we could say it's in the line of the house. We could do that, or further back, but let's say it's at the same line of the house going all the way back. Okay. So right away there's a steep embankment there. Comes forward. So if we follow the line of the house back, we could say, oh, that person walked straight back from the house, but is now this far in the air and is standing on the side of the steep hill. So now we can just take another 6 foot back, which is there, toward this vanishing point. Now that's convenient. We could also make another plane if we needed to. So there's our 6 foot height from the ground inside the mound, because it's inside the grass knoll. But we'll take that same height now and simply reference it up. So let's do that. All right. All right, so take a scrap piece of paper and literally go. There's that actual height of the person. Just put them up there. Just to be official about it. So now that person would only be that big as a figure. Standing up there on the hill, that's what you're saying. So you're saying this far back on the ground plane, on the flat ground plane, deep into the hill, or the little knoll, that's the height of a person, and then we just simply raise them on a pole and say that's where I choose to have them. So we're saying right there at that position of ground, that's how high up it is. And of course, if that's about 6 foot, that's about then 12. So that person's standing at about 13 feet up, something like that. So that's another way to look at it. We could reference, if we wanted to, we could reference a barn back here. Let's say there's a side of a barn back here. We could easily just say, oh, well, let's take a reference point. Take the back corner of the house on the ground, reference the corner of the barn, say that's a reference point. Okay. Say the barn's about the same height, a little taller. So again, we take this, and we go back to the reference point, pretty steep, but still, that far back, take it right up there. We could say basically that hits about there. So that far back, meaning that's back quite a ways on the picture plane there. We've got a barn that could behave the same way as our house. There's the big barn door. Steep roof, take about the halfway line. It's old, bent. You know, and we could say a silo even grows up twice as tall, so we could just estimate it and say, all right, this thing's really, really tall. Let me get my head out of the way here. Pick the cone in the middle, simply draw it out. So the idea is we're just adding things, just assuming size from really referencing the house and the person, stuff we could keep adding. You know, you'd have a tree. How are we going to reference a tree? Well, if it's still on flat ground plane, standing way back here. This is a 6-foot person. I could make another little reference from that 6-foot person just for the fun of it. Go through that to the horizon line, come back. Say, okay, there's the height of that person. Let's say there's 6 foot there. So it's only that big. 6 feet way back is only that tiny line. But, of course, a tree is much higher. Let's say 40 feet. So let's say 6, 12, 18, 24, 30, 36, 42, 44, let's say, about there, roughly, you know. Other branches coming off on the side. Again, just really fast stuff, but you can keep referencing basic, you know, decent sizes. You could have a tree even closer up here, you know, and then grow it really big. Reference that if we wanted to. You take that and simply say, oh, what if one was planted right back, you know, I don't know, let's see, the hill crest just back here. We could just reference that quickly again and just say, oh, okay, horizon line. Back to the top of that. So it would be out of our picture about like that. That's behind the hill, obviously, but again, the idea is the tree could be there, and again, we could have an, you know, some sized object there. We could reference from the house again, but oops, I got some smears on there. Let me clean that up. Anyway, you get the idea is we just keep thinking. So this, again, is not that eloquent. I certainly didn't slow down enough to really slow down and make, you know, I have to make these read hard enough, you know, fairly quickly in this thick pencil. We could go with more detail in the windows, but again, just using the basic, you know, referencing methods we did, we counted down, we could, you know, we could repeat boxes if you wanted to. We basically did, in a sense, because this barn is at the same perspective using these two vanishing points as the house. All I had to do was reference back to that single corner and then estimate, like we did when we duplicated the, you know, the box in by referencing a few diagrams ago. It's very simple, but again, you could keep going with this, and of course you could slow down and do more eloquent drawing and be more careful, but the blocking is correct. So the idea is, it depends what your definition of, a start or a lay-in is, and as a painter, if I can get a good solid lay-in going with what I know is correct, I just hand paint and mass everything in. So I'm not much of a line drawer on canvas. As long as I have the right indications, even when I'm doing a building, I might do some more accurate little brush marks using a straight edge, knowing where the eye level is and things. But after a couple hours, I have the whole canvas filled with what I think is the correct sizing, and then I cut those shapes out with the pure paint and using wet into wet and very thin sheets and things like that. So I prefer to get to this stage as fast as possible, just know my size blocking and my arrangement is working, and then I'm more confident to just make the shapes and fight the shapes into good shapes and carve them out in paint. A lot of you might not be confident to do that, but do it in stages. Don't depend on photography 100%. Don't trace or copy. Simply say, I'll start with the reference I have from photographs, and I'll try to draw close to that, but then change it a little and correct the space and the distortion the camera puts in, which we'll be talking about in a few diagrams actually, and some drawovers. But for now, we're just going to steam forward with pure diagrams and learn about the perspective. So again, we did some scaling here based on the eye level counting down. We did some reference pointing. We certainly did some shape to shape scaling. We estimated 5 or 6 things. We have that person on that lame little hill that comes in for some reason by their house. I don't know, maybe they live in the tundra. But anyway, the idea is that's how you estimate it. That's one person here, larger, smaller, then farther back up on that knoll, only be about that big. So that's a fairly large tree because it's 40, 45 feet, just like its other counterpart there, So again, real basic stuff. I could put more measurements here, but again, if you have questions, go back and play it back and just make notes and saying, oh yeah, we could reference this way or that way. Oh, we had to count up there. Then we can reference back from the house and get all sorts of information. So essentially, and we know the top of the roof distorted because a little bit, because it's getting out of the cone and it's getting pretty high up for these vanishing points just being here. So what? And the idea, if that's our crop and you're working within the means, you could try 2 or 3 of these views and change it slightly with the perspective setup. You don't have to live with this one. If you want to change it, you'd make note on what you wanted to change from this one, and you'd start your next one a little different and try to achieve a composition you felt you wanted more than this one. So again, the idea is it's all about relativity. What do you want to do with it? So this kind of blocking, though, helps a lot because these thin lines can help. So I'm going to have a little talk about referencing, I think, in paint, but maybe later in the program. I wanted to make it clear, though, again, if you look at this as a painting or a lay-in on a large canvas or a mural too, these techniques are very usable. You just have to be careful and triple check your work. So I wanted to make sure people understood they're not just about line drawings and some guy measuring all the time. They literally can be brought right into a living wet into wet painting, 6 foot by 4 foot, and carefully used these same ideas. A lot of the painters did that and had points in their studio if their canvas was against the wall or their drawing, and they'd put these marks on and they'd just start working the big picture and stuff. It didn't have to be a meticulously photocopied, anally done drawing, then only transfer to the canvas and then finally get to paint after you have every single inch of information you need from your drawing. Most competent painters actually are more confident than that and can start painting and massing shapes from just the basic idea of the good block-in. So that's what we're trying to get to here, and I'm certainly trying to do, to encourage you to kind of break your normal routine and try to really get these blockings in from what you know about drawing. You'll probably discover you know more about drawing than you think when it comes to really breaking down the figure or carefully looking at stuff. And again, I'm moving really fast through this, so it's not supposed to be some perfect execution of anything, but it is accurate to blocking and to reference and scale. Okay? So now we're going to move on next to 1-point perspective and actually lay it in and measure it and understand why the cone and the center of vision and the eye level and the station point work together now in the functioning drawing, as we talked about in the physical examples lecture. Okay?